Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and it looks like Wowhead might have unearthed some legendary effects that some of the classes might be able to play with and craft in Torghast as well as in Shadowlands. If you weren't aware, Shadowlands is going to be bringing back the system of legendaries from Legion into this new expansion, but also overhauled version, particularly the RNG aspect of it, while still maintaining the whole customizability and variety of builds that come with legendaries. Mostly by venturing into the Tower of Torghast and completing the tower runs, you'll be able to unlock different runes or different items that will be used as materials when you craft your legendaries. Hopefully the system will be better than the Legion RNG fiesta that it ended up being. Before we dive into the first one, which is Death Knight, let me preface this. We think these are the legendaries. These sound like potential legendary effects. These seem to be abilities that you'll be able to kind of instill into craftable materials. So everything on paper here sounds like legendary. The only thing is, there's not a Blizzard employee or anything like that that came out saying, yes, this is the legendary system. So this could all change tomorrow or next week. This all is speculative, but just about everything else points into this being a legendary system. Taking a look at the Death Knights at the very beginning, what we'll have is legendary systems that are general for the Death Knight class, so something that all three specs can use, and then there are some that are spec specific. For Death Knights we have a couple different, but not really original sources of abilities. For example, we have Death's Embrace, increases duration of anti-magic shell by 100, and any damage absorbs heals you, comes directly from a Legion legendary back, well, in Legion. Then you have Grip of Everlasting for 3 seconds after casting Death Grip. You may cast a spell a second time. Original source for this one was a Death Knight Mr. Pandaria DK PvP set bonus. So imagine in kind of where Blizzard is taking some of these effects. It looks like they're taking this stuff from 4-piece bonuses as well as legendary pieces. Then we have a couple different ones that are quite interesting. We have Pheromones, which when you and your minions gain 10% haste when you stand inside of your Death and Decay. And enemies damaged by Death and Decay have a chance to cover in place for 3 seconds. This one is actually a fuse of an old school talent, Tremble Before Me, as well as a new Torghast power called Death Turf. So it's interesting how they're fusing certain abilities together for now a very interesting, beneficial, yet also an offensive effect. And this would be really cool to use something like in PvP, which, by the way, we don't know if these legendaries can be used in PvP, if it's intended to be used in PvP, or anything like that. But I will have a few comments towards the end of the video of what I think these could potentially be. Then we have a Super Strain. This one is directly a Torghast animal power. When you apply any one of your dots, all the other Death Knight dots are also applied as well. So as Unholy Death Knight, you'll also be able to put on Frost Fever on an enemy and Blood Plague for the Health Siphoning element, which could be fun. Then there's also a couple of ones that are spec specific. For Death Knights, you have one with Bryanor's Might. It's Shackles of Bryanor. It's basically the legendary just being kind of reapplied back as a legendary in Shadowlands. Then you have Gorfian's Domination, a legendary effect that's coming back in the game, and a Vampiric Aura that's a Death Knight tier 13 4-piece bonus that is also coming back into the game as well. For Frost Death Knight, again, you have very similar things as Blood DK, and even Unholy, a lot of them are very similar. You have the Legendary from Legion being reapplied for Frostworm's Fury with Absolute Zero, Biting Cold, which is actually a trait from Remorseless Winter, but redesigned a little where Remorseless Winter damage is increased by a flat 15%. I think maybe the math would be about the same if like a Death Knight ran 3 Remorseless Winters, and this would be kind of like 3 Remorseless Winters in traits as something for you to use as an Azeroth power of Frozen Tempest. Then we have Culture's Favor, which is, again, another one of those legendary from Legion transformed into a direct legendary. You have the tier 4 set bonus being inspired by. So they're taking certain bonuses that were used back in the day, and for Unholy, they're modifying it to play with its new redesign of a class, which is something I'm glad the Blizzard is doing. And then Reanimated Shambler is actually inspired from DK Artifact Weapon, but also has a slight extra effect where not only will you summon a zombie that will explode for more damage, but also apply festering wounds to nearby enemies. Some of the other classes have a lot more interesting abilities to play with as well. I feel like Mages, for example, sounded busted, but then also recently Blizzard added Priest, Shaman, and Warrior for Wowhead to Data Mine, and those are the ones I really haven't read up much on. For Mages, I have some cool ones like It looks like they actually have some things that are quite original, like Disciplinary Command, casting Frost, Fire, and Arcane spells within 10 seconds of each other, increases your critical strike damage for all spells by 10%. This effect can only occur every 30 seconds, which again, actually an original bonus. Expanded potential, your Fireball, Frostbolt, Arcane Blast have a chance to give you expanded potential, which causes your next Hot Streak, Brain Freeze, or Clear Castle to not be consumed. 2+ haste, and you have the RPPM for it as well, which is awesome. Arcane Mage ones weren't super crazy. There are some Azurite traits and legendary inspired abilities like Temporal Warp, while your Temporal Displacement or other similar effects like Bloodlust are debuffs are active. You may use your own Time Warp at a reduced effectiveness, granting 15% haste for 20 seconds, which could be major for how much damage an Arcane Mage may put out. But then, of course, they have like literally the same copy-paste of Arcane Pressure just being applied as Arcane Bombardment. Fire Mages have some insane abilities, by the way. For example, Sun King's Blessing. After consuming 6 hot streaks, your next non-instant Pyroblast within 15 seconds grants you combustion for 6 seconds. Imagine a Fire Mage being able to pull that off in PvP or in dungeons and raids could be quite game-altering and even direct certain talents for you to run depending on your playstyle. Or Firestorm, when Hot Streak activates, you have a low chance to cause all Pyroblasts and Flame Strikes to have no cast time and guaranteed crits for 5 seconds, inspired by a Mage tier 17 4-piece bonus. I mean, that just sounds insane. Some of the other ones I haven't taken a look at are Priests, Shamans, and Warriors, so this is going to be more of my first reaction on what some of these are going to be. Phantasm. I remember Mr. Pandari telling Phantasm, activating Fade removes all movement impairing effects and prevents movement speed. They don't have the stealth. I really would have wished they added the stealth element to it, because I really like the fact that Shadow Priests could, I guess other priests as well, could kind of fade into shadows and fade into stealth and leave a Phantasm for you to hit. And I always thought it was a really cool ability. Then they have a tier bonus from a 2-piece set for tier 17 for Disc Priest, where penance will fire 1 additional second, and there's a Holy Priest Legion legendary being added as well, so I guess that's cool. For Shamans, we have a couple new abilities, but nothing crazy. Artifact Weapon ability Doom Winds is kind of coming back as Doom Winds. Drop in Wind Fury Totem grants you 100% increased chance to gain Wind Fury Weapon for 8 seconds. This effect can only occur every 1 minute, which would be kind of game changing for Wind Fury as now a cooldown for Enhancement Shaman, which actually would be kind of cool. I got some restoration abilities, which is going to be inspired by tier sets, a legendary original Source Ripped, an original one with Primal Tide Core. Every 4 cast of Riptide also applies Riptide to another friendly target near your Riptide target. This one kind of sounds good, but sounds simple compared to some of the original stuff that we've seen so far. Then we have Warrior. We have a couple of different abilities available for Warrior. Heroic Leap with Leaper. Timeless Stratagem was one of the coolest legendaries for back in the day. I don't care what anybody says. I love that legendary from a while ago. Timeless Stratagem was always fun to play with. Extra leaps gave warriors so much more ability. I know it wasn't the biggest damage in the world, but it was just such a nicety to enjoy. Mishap Mirror, which is a Torghast enemy power, which I'm a huge fan of them reusing Torghast powers, because those are some of the original effects that we are able to play with in the new expansion, so I'm a huge fan. You have some of the Armored Warrior abilities, which a lot of them are just kind of reused abilities from previous expansions. Exploiter, which is actually a Legion artifact trait. Execute causes the target to take 25% more damage from your next Mortal Strike, stack it up to 2 times. With how Mortal Strike is returning back as one of the regular used abilities, even inside of Execute windows, this is going to be quite a good legendary for the big Execute damage. Then you have your Fury Warrior, and it seems original source you have an Azurite power, Anger Management, or inspired by a talent of Anger Management, which Rampage critical strikes reduce the Recklessness and Rage Regeneration by 3 seconds. That seems really good with Reckless Defense. You have Legendaries as well as 4-piece set bonuses as well, 2-piece, 4-piece, whatever it may be. Double legendary bonuses for your Prot Warrior. We also have a new one, Reprisal, which seems to be an original. Your first intercepted attack grants you Ignore Pain and make your next revenge cost no rage, which could be really good for being able to take a hit for an ally. Then we have Unbreakable Wool, which is again another 4-piece bonus. Shield Wall grants 50% of its effect to all party members. Seems like a really strong one, but that's going to be the main gist of some of the legendaries we have. So some of the things that I liked and some of the things that I don't. First of all, I like the legendary system of Legion. It wasn't done right, yeah, it was very RNG. I was one of those rogues that got lucky and got my shoulders very early on, so I didn't complain much. But I'm pretty sure if you were the rogue and your shoulders was literally the last legendary you ever gotten, that might have probably hindered your position in some of the raid tiers, I'm pretty sure. The only tiers you would have seen are tears streaming from your face because you didn't have the needed legendary, which was ridiculous. So they are ratifying that by making it craftable legendaries from Torghast when you find these certain items within Torghast. So I like that it's coming back. As for certain traits and set bonuses, this is kind of where parts I like and parts I don't. I like the 2-piece, 4-piece bonuses that are interesting, that are fun, that are game-changing, or busted strong. But those are also the same bonuses that we might have played in previous expansions. I wouldn't want for Blizzard to cycle and recycle all of the tier set bonuses, maybe just the most interesting ones that could actually affect gameplay. But I'm also kind of hoping that, biggest fear of legendaries, I'm hoping it doesn't replace tier set bonuses. Blizzard said that tier sets should be coming back in terms of the visual. We have no idea if tier sets are actually coming back on gear, or at least nothing I can find that's near me to confirm for sure. We're so late into the alpha, we know that we're not really going to have new class specific gear for the first raid tier, but for future raid tiers there should be is the key word. So this legendary system thing, reusing certain Legion legendaries, not bad, but I just hope they don't reuse all of them. You know, I only hope they reuse the cool ones, the interesting ones that actually change your gameplay. And I don't count the rogue shoulders just for coming out of stealth or vanishing to have 100% crit. That would be insanely strong. Just something that actually did alter your gameplay and made you think in terms of how you approach different situations, or buff certain aspects that are generally not that strong, so you might be able to enhance certain abilities to be able to utilize them in other ways. Also, I like the ones that deal with group survivability, especially those for tanks. The shield wall one for protection warrior, where when you pop shield wall, you gave 50% shield wall to your allies, whether they're raid or a dungeon group. I think that stuff is awesome. I think that stuff can give you a little bit extra raid viability, and I think certain specs and classes are going to be very legendary focused. I'm almost expecting Shadow Priest to basically be awful and literally rely on legendaries in order to make him good for all pieces of gameplay. Another thing, I don't know if legendaries will be usable like they were in Legion, in terms of can be used in PvP, but can be used in dungeons and raids. Are we going to be able to swap legendaries within dungeons? Are we going to be able to swap gear within dungeons for trash packs or single target bosses? Or are we going to be more kind of like how BFA has been setting it up? I also, and this is personal, just as somebody who played Battle for Azeroth, I really hope Blizzard doesn't overuse too many Azerite gear for legendaries. Because I feel like some of us have played certain classes or specs where we used literally the same Azerite gear from day one until the very end day of BFA. Like, Deadshot for Outlaw Rogues has been one of the best traits this whole time, and we've kept using it from day one till day now, and I'm pretty sure we'll continue using it to the very, very last day of Battle for Azeroth. Another thing I'm hoping is we don't basically have a BFA all over again, where traits replaced 2-piece, 4-piece set bonuses. I really hope legendaries don't replace 2-piece, 4-piece set bonuses, because we will basically do the same thing we did with BFA. Traits, we're just going to end up using same traits from day one, first tier of raid, to the very last tier of raid. So I'm hoping the Blizzard really does deliver on 2-piece, 4-piece set bonuses. And I'm hoping they add interesting legendaries, take out the boring ones, and really listen to the community of what is some stuff we would want to see and what is some stuff we wouldn't want to see. I can't wait to make a legendary video when it comes to rogues and really break down some of the different rogue legendary abilities. I wonder which one tier set bonuses and certain legendaries, which ones Blizzard will give back to the community, because certain abilities that even Outlaw Rogue and other specs have were inspired by legendaries when we were molded for Battle for Azeroth. So I wonder what other effects we could have that could come back as dedicated legendaries for us to wear. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I really do hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts about some of these legendaries, and what are your thoughts about the system. And what are you like me that's hoping that legendaries coincide with 2-piece, 4-piece set bonuses, or do you like the idea of legendaries kind of replacing 2-piece, 4-piece set bonuses, tier set bonuses, so we can kind of craft our own tier pieces? Let me know all that in the comments below. I'd like to hear some of you guys' responses. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in the next one.